Hi, welcome to the Shame Free Zone. I am
Hi.
really excited to have my guest, Jennifer Wallace. Jennifer Wallace is a sex trafficking survivor, and she's also super sex positive. And I just can't wait to learn from her experience and her wisdom. And please feel free to post your comments and questions below. Jennifer, you are such a courageous, joyful, amazing, adorable person. I'm really glad to be getting to know you. I was on your podcast. Now you're on my YouTube.
Mhm.
And, my view, I've been just totally head over heels with you, but I think I probably better read a little bit about you for my viewers because they're not going to know who you are. So, Jennifer is a guide and connector in the healing arts. As a childhood sexual trauma survivor, didn't mention that part, and a sex trafficking survivor, and a breast cancer thriver, she has dedicated her time to understanding the connection between the brain and the body and to understanding how to heal deep emotional wounds that produce harmful survival outputs such as disordered eating, anxiety, chronic illness, and dis-ease in the body. By taking a deep dive into her own healing journey, Jennifer has shifted her life into one of purpose. And when she began to peel back the layers and dance with the shadows and regulate her nervous system, she began having true awakenings and creating lasting change, cultivating an entirely new way of being. Why this really resonates with me, Jennifer. The culmination of Jennifer's training comes together into a unique healing approach. And she is the host of Illuminated with Jennifer Wallace, a podcast which is rooted in community healing and transforming lives through the shared stories of women who have made healing journeys. I myself was one of her guests. So, and now, Jennifer, I want to hear so much about your healing journey. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah, welcome to the Shame Free Zone where we can talk about anything without shame. And we don't have to hang our head with shame, but we also don't have to hang our head with a lot of misery because we are on a healing journey and really celebrating that. But I think it's only fair to go into some of that pain, even if you and I have transcended a lot of that pain. Some of the people tuning in right now, it might be a little bit, jarring to see so much joy and vibrancy. So we know all the heavy lifting required to get here. And I would love to hear how your journey has been. So can we start with the sexual trauma from your childhood and find out,
Sure.
like, did you know about it? Did you go into denial about it? How did that come to be part of your healing?
That's a really interesting it's a really interesting place for us to start actually because it's the last thing that I've sort of found out in my healing journey, and I really only learned about that about maybe 5 months ago in November of 2020. And I was living this life where I was totally dysregulated. I was like a swinging pendulum. You didn't really know what you were going to get, who was going to show up. I didn't feel comfortable in my body. I couldn't figure out why. Like, why am I the way that I am? And how can I do all this work? I do EFT. I'm a meditator. I regulate my nervous system every day. I'm like, do all this work, but something's there. Something is there. I can feel it and I don't know what it is. So those answers came to me at Soltara Healing Center, where I did a week-long ayahuasca retreat.
Right.
And
Plant
she gave
medicine.
me,
Where would we be without plant medicine?
I don't even know. I I love it so much. And so Mother Ayahuasca is the one who delivered that painful message to me. And it answered every question I went to her with. And it's the knowing of that has really transformed my life because I just couldn't understand. And now I have a connection to things. And I do believe that that's where the breast cancer truly emanates from, is the childhood trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. And just just for those of us, myself included, who might be a little worried about your well-being, is it in remission?
Yes, yes. I am 6.5 years clear almost.
Oh my God, that's great. That's
Yes,
great. I'm
yes.
so
It
happy
also a
for you.
very ugly situation, but I believe that even with that, when I'm sitting here with you, this is my purpose. And eventually I think the universe will whisper and whisper and sometimes slap you around a little bit, but it will eventually get you to stop and pay attention and listen. And for me, breast cancer was the portal to my awakening.
We all, really in that journey of transformation, we all need what they refer to in 12 step as a bottom, that kind of uh, night of the dark soul,
Mhm,
where we really connect with, wow, um, this isn't working for me anymore.
mhm.
So when you were confronted with breast cancer, what kind of realizations came up for you?
What I started to really reflect on was the way that I lived my life, not only the food and what I was intaking, but the health of my mind
Yeah.
and really my mental health. Like, what was I saying to myself? How was I treating myself? And what kind of way do I want to be? How do I want to live? And in those years, between well, okay, so it goes childhood sexual trauma, obviously, because I'm very young at that age, 3 to 5, and then
Oh,
Turkey being taken in Turkey. Yeah, so I didn't have any words to even go to my mom with. To like, we all just found this out.
oh,
It's so repressed. I mean, she didn't know. My parents didn't know either, and so I think
oh,
yeah, it's hard, it was sad. It's a sad thing to have
yeah.
to tell your parents that.
Well, and such a blow to uh, self concept, the way we think about ourselves when we
Mhm.
find out, oh, wow, this thing happened to me. It explains a lot, which can be kind of a relief, but it's
Mhm.
also like trying to reorganize your identity around that.
Totally, totally. And when after you take a plant medicine like ayahuasca, she totally reshapes things for you. And then I kind of came home and I was like, who am I without the anxiety, without the depression, without the crazy racing thoughts and not wanting to rely on recreational drugs, not wanting to drink alcohol? Like, how can I recreate my life as something to be proud of, something that, you know,
I
really fills me?
I got clean and sober 35 years ago. I've been on this healing journey for that length of time. And yet there's always layers, you mentioned this in your bio, the layers that we work our way through. And just this last year, I really made some major inroads on childhood trauma. As you know, I'm also an incest survivor. Well, in your case, it wasn't incest, but I'm a child sexual assault survivor. And it's amazing, to get on the other side of some of that trauma. I'm not saying it's all gone, but I've been working very hard with my therapist on it. And I do have that same experience, Jennifer, of who am I without the racing, adrenaline fueled, kind of fear based existence. Like that's just been in the background for so long. And suddenly my physiology is calming down and I feel a little disoriented.
You nailed it when you just said a fear-based existence. Like, I didn't realize, the hypervigilance. I know that you can relate to that. That I was living so deeply in that, and that I was so disassociated from myself, from relationships, from my family, and trying to fill that back up and create this new person. It's a lot of work. Healing is so much work.
Well, it's not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not.
But the payoffs are amazing. I mean, the joy,
Mhm.
the spontaneity, the pleasure, the creativity.
Yes, it's just the tapping in to the present moment and really feeling good about life. is amazing.
And relationships, being able to
And
continue relationships.
relationships.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. You went from being a sexual assault survivor from age 3 to 5 to
Mhm.
having an experience in Turkey.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how old were you and what happened?
So I was 32. Let's see, that was 2009 when I was
Okay,
taken in Turkey. So I was 32 years old.
right.
And I had taken a job. I'd lived in London for 4 years. I finished my degree out there. And I'd taken a job opportunity that was supposed to take me to Singapore, but it left me with a short stint in Turkey. So I was like, sure. I moved all my things. 4 years of living in London, I moved to Antalya, Turkey. And I thought I was making a friend. There was a man I was introduced to by I was living with my boss's cousin, and she introduced me to him so that we were having huge language barriers. And when we were having those issues, she took me to meet this guy who ran an IT shop, and he was about my age. He spoke really good English. And when you're traveling or when you're staying in a country and you don't get the opportunity to speak your language very often, it's really comforting when you can go to somebody and think like, wow, yeah, let's talk about movies. Let's talk about music. Let's talk about Hollywood. So I would drop in that IT shop randomly, like just going to and from the beach. And I am very respectful of other cultures when I'm traveling. Like I know I never looked in a tank top in Turkey. Never. It was always capped, neck, sleeves,
Yeah,
knee length pants, skirts. You have to, I know where I'm at.
I understand that. I had to do that when I traveled to Papua New Guinea as a tourist. So yes,
Oh, yes.
you,
That's
you
very
want to
interesting.
respect the culture, and then you send the right cues to whomever.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so one afternoon, the lady that I was living with and I had a huge blowout. And so I packed a bag and I walked up to the shop and I was like, hey, I'd already done all my research as to where I was going to stay. I just needed him to let me know that this is so crazy. Am I going to a safe area?
Oh
And
no.
can you help me make this reservation? Like, am I going somewhere safe? Well, as we were leaving the IT shop to go to my booking, I passed this really harsh man in the doorway. Beady eyes,
Yeah.
very I don't know. He gave me I didn't smile. I just walked right by him. Like we made eye contact and I went by, but he made me very uncomfortable.
Right.
So we get in the car and he's like, hey, you know what? I've got this girlfriend. She's about your age. She's Russian. She speaks incredible English. Her brother's out of town and you could stay there for a couple nights. How
Oh.
about that? Then you could have a friend. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, totally. I'm totally into that.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm in a horror movie right now. This is-
Yes, this is the part where everyone is like, run.
yeah. No, 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 don't. Go away, leave
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Don't
Don't,
get in the car.
don't get in the car.
Well, I got in the car.
Oh my God.
And he drives me to this apartment, and this really nice Russian girl answers the door, and she was very welcoming. She was very nice, and the house looked like my house. There was an instrument over here, pictures on the wall. It looked like it was lived in.
Yes.
So
Right.
the three of us start kind of chatting and hanging out, and then guess who comes through the door?
Oh no. The
The
guy with
beady-eyed man at the shop that I
oh
was kind
no.
of put off by.
Oh,
And now
your,
he's kind
did
of
your
different.
heart stop?
Well, it was he changed his mannerisms.
Oh.
When he walked in and he was with her, he was brighter-eyed. He smiled. He
Oh
was
no. So you did what so many of us women do and thought, oh, maybe I was wrong about him.
totally,
Oh God. All right.
totally.
All right.
And always follow your gut.
Totally.
Always follow your gut.
Oh, the times I haven't, I have been so sorry.
Mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
Yeah.
So we all kind of hung out for a little while. I've never been a beer drinker, even in my drinking days. So everyone was drinking, I wasn't. And about 11 o'clock, the guy who delivered me there leaves because it's like 11 o'clock. Everyone's like time to go to bed, right?
Right. Right.
So I brushed my teeth. I was wearing, you remember those long palazzo pants that they used to be like cotton with a long, tall waist that was just like pull down pants?
Sure.
So I'm wearing those with a t-shirt and I go sit in my bedroom and, or well, the brother's bedroom at the time. And it was dark and I had not been sat there for, it was two twin beds in that room.
Okay.
And even looking back at that, does a grown man have two twin beds?
Uh-huh. I
No,
gotcha. Right.
no, he doesn't. And I mean, I'll tell you more about that in the reflection, but
Yeah.
I heard the door open. And when I turned around over the right side of my shoulder, here comes, his name was Sinan. Here comes Sinan.
Let's just
He
call
had
him Beady Eyes.
beady
Okay.
eyes. I'm in that into that beady eyed little man.
Beady Eyes.
Beady
Beady
eyes.
Eyes is in the room now, and he
Yeah.
didn't
And he's
knock,
wearing
right?
tidy whities.
Oh no.
And I just said to myself, I mean, I really talked to myself a lot through this, but I said to myself, get ready. He's coming for you.
Oh
Brace
boy.
yourself.
Yeah.
And I just remember tensing my body up so much on the bed to just try and make myself so fortified that he wouldn't be able to knock me down, knock me over, push me over. Well, I've never been in a fight, but I can't even tell you. It only lasted the first time maybe a solid 5 to 7 minutes.
And when you say the first time, are you talking? What are you talking about? The
Oh,
assault?
because he's gonna come back. Yeah. So
So
we fought.
did he assault you, or did you fight him off?
No, we fought. He didn't do anything to me. He could
Okay.
not stop me from screaming, stop me from punching and flailing my legs and insert himself inside of me at the same time. He did manage to get my pants down, but like I'm saying, I'm wearing cotton palazzo pants.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
You were
fought.
getting comfy and ready for bed.
Yeah, I thought I was just going to bed. And so at some point he stops and he leaves the room.
And what are you thinking at that point,
You've
Jennifer?
got to get the fuck out of here right now.
Right.
You
Yeah.
got to get out of here.
And where are you going? Did you know?
I was just going to jump out the window.
Yeah. Oh,
So I grabbed my passport and my telephone
right.
and I get dressed. And this time when I get dressed, I put jeans on, something that's got like something to it,
Right.
some zip. And I put a different t-shirt on. I put another layer of t-shirt on.
Right.
And I'm on the second floor, but when I look out the window, I'm on like the fourth or fifth floor. There's a huge drop.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
nothing to
That
catch
was
me.
intentional.
No trees, no canopy, no zero, zilch.
Nothing. No fire escape.
No. So at this point, I make the decision to drop my passport and my telephone out the window because I'm
Oh,
getting out of here one way or
oh,
another.
oh my gosh.
To to this day, I mean, honestly, to this day, and I have given it so much thought, I have no idea how he knows that I have done that. But within minutes, he is back through that door. He's got my passport, he's got my telephone, and he's pissed. And here goes the whole thing all over again.
Oh my
And now
God.
he's a lot more aggressive. He's choking me. He's slapping my face. It's like a lot more aggressive.
Oh, Jennifer.
And I had a moment, I'll be really honest with you. I had a moment where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can keep this fight up any longer. This guy is, he's kind of winning. And I reflected back in the old days. Remember when Oprah used to do shows with like John Walsh, and she really taught you how to like protect yourself and gave you all these like safety tips.
Yes.
One day on her show was an elderly African American lady, And I mean, she was in her 60s and someone broke into her home in the middle of the night and tried to rape her. Well, she grabbed him so hard by the penis and testicles that he ended up wanting her to call for help. Well, I thought of that moment of Oprah in this moment. And I'm like, I'm going to try that.
My God.
Well, it did not work. It did not work for me the way that it worked for that lady.
Oh
And
no.
so there was a
Did it just
moment
make him
there.
angrier?
Yes. Yeah. He's just
Okay.
like, and I'm screaming for her. I'm screaming her name.
Yeah.
She opens the door. We make eye contact and then she shuts the door. And then at that moment, I realize
This was a setup.
you're alone.
Oh,
This is something else is going on now. This is not just like,
wow.
oh, so we continued that little battle there. And like I said, I was starting to just kind of wear down and feel like I didn't have the capacity anymore to fight. And I felt his penis on me.
Uh,
He was close. He was really close.
yeah.
And in that moment, I don't know, I found the power. I just found the strength and I just started to punch a little bit harder, like really just try to get some of my momentum back. And then once again, he just stopped and left the room.
Wow.
So now I've got my phone back
And you had your passport still.
and my passport.
Oh,
So I sent the
Are
guy.
you wounded? I mean, he's been choking you and
Yeah, I know that I'm heavily bruised at
okay.
that moment because I can feel, but there's so much adrenaline racing through me. I've still got
Sure.
to get out of this apartment.
Yes, and that woman's not going to help you.
No,
Nobody.
she's not going to help me. And from the layout, I'm sort of in the back of the apartment. So when he was coming in and out, there's like 20 locks on the door. So
Oh,
I also know that I'm in a really scary position
so
here.
you're basically trapped.
I'm trapped in this house, in this apartment. And so I dialed the IT guy, help me.
Yeah.
Shut the phone. Well, the little sound goes off. You sent a text. Well, guess who heard that little musical note?
Beady eyes.
Beady eyes. And now he's screaming at me. He's got my wrist and he's trying to pull me out of the door, out of my room. And of course, now I don't want to leave the room. I don't know what's going to happen. And so he forces me into their bedroom, which was next door. And Russian girl is passed out on the bed in the middle. And so when you come through the room, he puts me through the door and he's trying to tell me he's forcing me to lay there in the bed with him. Well, as I'm noticing the room, I'm like, okay, there's a couple things going on here. There's a screen door. There's a patio. Seems
Oh my
comforting.
God. You have your wits about you to a degree that's very unusual.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I just feel like it was divine guidance, honestly. Her phone was on the nightstand that he forced me to lay next to. So I took that and I hid it under the mattress, in between the mattress and the box spring. And he's going in and out of the room. I could hear him. He had a set of keys like a janitor would have, a round set with like thousands of keys on it. And I'm laying facing the wall, facing the patio door, and I'm looking over my shoulder to watch for him because I don't know what to expect at this point.
Yeah.
And I watch him put those keys on the ironing board under a big pile of clothes. And I'm like, well, that's not going to be an option. How would you even get those keys? It's like 1,000 keys on there.
Right.
So I laid there for a few hours, I think it was probably about 2 or 3. And I cried all my snot and tears on the bed skirt next to me. Because
Oh,
I'm thinking when CSI comes in here at some point, they're going to blue light this house and they're going to find my DNA.
oh, babe.
It was that.
As if there was a CSI in Turkey.
I know. But
That you had to have some kind of a fantasy to keep your hope alive.
that is so true what you just said. I've never put it in that perspective before or in that context, but you're right. That's exactly what I was doing, keeping my hope
You
of
said
living
the
alive.
people from CSI, the imaginary Turkish CSI, they were your friends.
Oh gosh, they
And we
are.
need
They
to
are.
know there's somebody that's going to be there for us.
So at some point, I know he's snoring. He's
Oh,
sleeping.
thank God for snoring.
Thank God for snoring. The only time I've ever wanted to hear a man snore was this moment. Um, and I
And
slowly.
is he in the same room or a
Oh, he's
different?
in the bed.
He's in
He's
the
on
bed.
the other side of the Russian girl.
So
Well,
basically, he's decided he's not going to get to rape you tonight, but he's going to keep you for another day. By probably by breaking your will. And it sounds like she's kept subdued by drugs or whatever. But anyway,
yes, or who knows what her role in all of this is.
yeah. Well, I
So
mean,
I
she's not awake. She's not awake. She's passed out in
oh,
bed.
she's totally passed out. She was
Well,
shooting
he's trying to rape you in the next room.
yeah, I mean, she was shooting vodka. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so cliche, but
Oh,
that is what was
here's
happening.
what it is.
And I
Okay, all right, so we're all on the edge of our seat.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Okay, so I slowly get the courage to creep as slowly as I can up past the bed. I see the laundry, keys aren't an option. The door was cracked open, so I just opened it just enough to squeeze my body through. And I'm like, oh my God, now what? Okay, you've got to get out of this house. But he's still sleeping there and you have no weapon. You have nothing to protect yourself. So I went into the kitchen cabinets and grabbed a glass
Uh-huh.
because I thought I'm going to break this thing and shove it into his throat.
Okay.
That's where I'm at in my
Friend
mental
watches a lot of
space.
movies. I can tell. The movies are worth something, aren't
They
they?
really are. I mean, they're full of great ideas. And honestly, if you look around, whoever's watching this, like just look around the room around you, there's so many weapons.
Yeah. I'm wondering when you went in the kitchen why you didn't grab a knife, but okay. Anyway, so we got the glass.
Well, you hear that thing about knives and guns, and people with knives who don't know how to use them will often end up hurting themselves.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know anything about knives. I've upgraded my artillery to another weapon now, but in this moment, I do know how to hold a glass.
All right. All
And it's
right.
pretty, he's not going to know what's coming in my mind.
Well, I like that. The element of surprise. So you have a glass, but you are planning on cutting his throat with
if I get the opportunity.
What happened to you? What about your phone and your passport? I'm so worried about you. You're in Turkey.
I don't even know where they are now because he has them.
Oh,
When he came to drag me out of the room, he was holding them, but he didn't give them back to me.
oh no.
So
This is right out of the trafficker's playbook, isn't it?
and so many things. That night before, we had taken a picture, the three of us, on a little teeny point and shoot film camera. And so I grab that camera. I'm walking past it. I grab that camera and I go out to the balcony because I'm like, I'm just going to go out I'm only 2 floors up, right?
Okay. So now you're on the other side of the apartment where you could hopefully
there's some
survive a
space
jump.
between us. Exactly. I'm going to go out on the balcony and figure this jump out. So I chuck the camera I'm trying to get it to this giant agave plant.
Okay.
But it's red, it's small. I don't have a throwing arm, and literally about 3 feet in front of this plant, now there's this red camera. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll get it. I'm going to get down there. So as I'm surveying what I'm going to do, and I've put my glass down now, which was stupid. I put my glass down and I'm just like trying to figure out how am I going to get down. And down underneath of me is like marble or concrete, like something. It's not a soft landing.
It's hard. Whoa.
It's going to be a hard landing. And and that phone of hers that I took it out onto the balcony with me. I took it with me when I crept out of the room, but it had a passcode lock on it, and it became a tool that I couldn't use.
Of course.
Of course.
Huh.
So As I'm standing there trying to figure out, okay, should I go down and slide and then jump, or like, what does this look like? As I turn, Beady Eyes is on the balcony now with me.
Oh no! Oh
And
no! He's that one of those villains in the movie. No matter how many times you try to kill him, he comes back to life.
exactly, exactly. And so he's so mad. What are you doing out here? Get inside. And he's pulling me once again. Now I've lost my only weapon is on the table outside on the balcony. And I'm like, fuck. So we're arguing. I'm like, hey, I want to leave. And he's like, he's talking to me in Turkish. He's just like waving me off. And I'm like, okay, try and play smart. Maybe if you play nice and play dumb and act like last night didn't happen, he'll let you go. So I'm just like trying to be nice to him and like, I'm just going to go get my things and thanks for the hospitality. And I'm out of here. I really need to go. And he's just like, you're not going anywhere. And then he notices that the camera is missing from the table. I could not believe it.
What an anal asshole!
Like, what? Why would you even recognize that?
Oh,
But it just made everything worse.
Did you ever see that movie, Misery, with Kathy Bates?
Yes.
Where James Caan just moved one of her little knickknacks a quarter of an inch.
Yes, that's who I was with. Kathy Bates's trafficking double.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so now we know something's missing, and it's specifically the camera. Okay.
And he's looking everywhere for it. He goes in, he wakes her up, and they're searching the house. They come in front of me just a few feet, and they're having this argument in Turkish. And he's telling her, I'm watching this weird game of charades. He's telling her what I did the night before, that I dropped my things out the window. And now he's accusing me of stealing this camera. Well, she speaks way better English than he does. And I just tell her, I'm like, and I'm staying very calm. I'm like, I don't have your camera. I don't need your camera. I actually went to school for photography. I've got about 10 cameras at my own apartment. I don't need your shitty camera. I don't know where it's at. And I'm just playing it out. I don't know. Well, they split up. I mean, literally, they're looking in the cabinets. They're looking in drawers. He pulled out the trash can. I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking like, what the hell's on this camera? They really want
my
camera.
God. Really? What is on this camera?
What's on this roll of film?
And obviously they have smartphones, so they could have put it there, but that would go to the cloud. So this is obviously something they want to keep very private.
So when he goes to the bedroom, he grabs that janitor roll of keys, and now he's unlocking the door. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving too. In my mind, I'm just like, I'm out. So he goes to open the door, and I'm right there. I'm like, I'm going. He's like pushing me back. And he goes out the door and locks all of it now from the outside. She goes to the bathroom, and I'm standing in front of her as she's peeing. And I'm like, help me. You've got to get me out of here. Please. I'm pleading with her. She's just like, everything is fine. Just be relaxed. So it's fine. It's fine. But he really wants his camera. And I'm like, I don't have the camera. And I say to her, I'm like, please, as a woman, like, please let me go. I'm in a dangerous situation. This isn't safe for me. And she's just like totally brushing me off.
Of course, because she's in the same situation, and it means nothing.
Yeah, and like you said, I don't know if she's under the influence of any drugs or what he's done to her.
We don't know. Maybe she's a former trafficking victim who has become acquiescent to the whole situation.
Exactly, just totally numb. And it's so sad, right? That could be her story, that she's just so worn down that now she's bringing women in or helping with the...
Right. Or
so sad
the attitude of you'll get used to it.
Yeah. Maybe she's making money too.
Could be.
Money that she probably never would see.
Oh my God.
But he comes back in, and once again, they're just looking everywhere. And the next time he goes to hit the door to go outside and I'm on him, he's arguing with me again. So he goes back outside, lock, lock, lock. As she's in the kitchen, in the pantry, I remember that there's a small pair of scissors in that table. It was like a glass table up front. On the top, but like on the bottom, it had stuff like books and a bowl and all this stuff, whatever they had, ashtray. And she had cut a string, a loose string off of his shirt the night before. And I'm like, light bulb, there's a pair of scissors right there within reach. So while she's not paying attention, I grab those small pair of scissors. And I mean, it was a small pair of scissors,
Yeah.
bigger than a sewing kit scissors,
Uh-huh.
but not quite as large as like a standard size set of scissors. So
Okay.
I put them underneath of my bra strap in the back.
Wow. Okay. Now we
Because
have
I
a more
thought, where am I going to
premise.
where am I going to hide these?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I'm not even going to hurt myself. So he comes back. Here we go. And I start arguing with him a little bit. I'm like, listen, I'm not being nice anymore. I want to leave. You have got to let me go. And he's just like, no, you're not leaving. And I'm like, no, I'm fucking leaving. And he's like, no, you're not. And he grabs me by the throat and he just starts choking me out, but doing it in a way where he's pushing me backwards and pushing me back down onto the couch. Well, he released me. I got right back up. That happened 3 times. On that last time that he grabbed me by the neck, I had the scissors. The last time that I got up to walk towards him, I grabbed them and I had them so that the blade was running up my wrist and forearm. And so when he grabbed me by the neck that last time, I pulled those scissors up and I just stabbed him in the face. I stabbed
Whoa.
him in the throat. Spoiler alert, anybody who's watching this, you can't stab someone in the throat. You have to slit the throat.
Oh
You're
my
not going to hit a vein. Like if you stab someone right here, it's a puncture wound.
God. Okay. So you've stabbed him in the face and the throat.
And when I stabbed him in the face, I stabbed him in the nose and then drug as hard as I could the blade across his face.
Whoa. Whoa. Oh my God.
And he, at the point that he realizes that I have stabbed him, he releases my neck just enough to pull back and go to punch me. But he's so caught off guard and I'm watching him, he couldn't get me. He just grazes my jaw and then the second time punches me in the neck,
Okay.
thankfully.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that you remember all of this, but I'll talk about that a little more. But let's keep on with the story.
Um, so now he is bleeding just profusely. It is, I've never seen so much blood in my life coming out of someone. And he's looking in the mirror. Now, here she comes with a rag and she's cleaning the blood up. It was like another normal damn day in their house. Like
Uh,
she's just I couldn't engage her. She was
oh,
set to the task of cleaning this blood up.
oh my God. It's like she's got Stockholm syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he goes to, I mean, he is raging mad. He goes to the kitchen and he grabs a 9-inch carving knife
Oh,
and he's
Jennifer.
holding it like psycho because he's got his fist around the
Oh,
grip. The blade is turned down. I'm sitting on the couch and he is coming up over me doing slashing. And I mean, I'm just like, oh my God.
does his knife go into you?
No. He stands me up to face him. And as he raises the blade, I say to myself, this is it. This is truly it. You tried and you did a good job, but you're going to die
Yeah.
today, right now in Turkey. What I can only explain to you as divine intervention, it's like a wall, a force, something invisible, this giant energy comes in between us. And as soon as I said, that's it, you're going to die, I immediately said, you're going to live. You're going to make it. You're getting out of here. I don't know what happened there. That's basically where my faith ends up coming from, or my faith in in the metaphysical, in angels, and how
Right.
whatever people believe in. But then he lowers the knife. He never drops it, but he lowers it. And he says, "I'm calling the police." And I'm like, "What?" That's
Please
a
do.
very strange turn of events.
Please do call the police.
By
Tell
all
them
means, call the police.
this.
And so I don't know, 10 minutes later, and he's just been pacing. He's got rags, he's holding the blood, he's cleaning his face, but he never drops this knife. And at some point you hear a knock on the door. And I'm like, I guess it's the police are coming. No, if this was a police officer, he was, I don't know. He was wearing a pink Ralph Lauren polo shirt, little,
Oh,
and blue board shorts. This guy looked like he was going to the
it's getting
beach.
worse and worse.
And
Okay.
I'm thinking, if this is the police, I'm really in some big trouble now, because now they're just going to bury my body.
Yeah.
This is it. Who's this guy? And he's looking at me. He's listening to the story. He can see the blood. Once again, I'm watching this like crazy game of charades in this language I don't entirely understand. And next thing he says to me, beady eyes, is like, "I'm calling the IT guy." And I'm like, okay. Another man is joining this situation. This is not feeling good, but maybe this is an ally. So in comes the IT guy, and he sits in front of me, and he's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "Get me the fuck out of here." And he's like, "Jennifer, I need to know what you did." I'm like, "You know what I did. What did you do? What am I doing here? You need to get me out of here right now. You need to get me out of here right now." And so he gets up, they have a conversation. IT comes back to me and he says, "Go get your bag." And I said, "Could you come with me?" And he said, "No, go get your things right now and we're leaving." And I was like, "We're leaving?" And he's like, "Yes, you do not have a lot of time. Get up." So
Oh my God.
I get up, I grab my bag. It's very loosely unpacked. I'd only been there for like a
Passport?
few minutes before.
Passport. Where's your passport?
Passport and phone. Beady Eyes comes out to me with my passport and my telephone. I stuck them in the side panel of my bra under my t-shirt. And as I'm walking out the door, lock, unlock, there's a giant marble staircase that goes as a winding thing all the way down. Well, I put my duffel bag in between me and the railings, thinking that if he pushes me,
Yeah.
because he's walking behind me to the car.
Oh no.
And IT guy looks at me and he goes, he's asking about a camera.
Oh.
And I'm like, "I don't have the fucking camera. I don't know anything about the camera. I don't know where the camera is."
Oh my God.
I mean, what's on this camera still? I would just love to know.
Yes.
Maybe save some other lives. But
Right?
so IT guy takes me down to the ocean front to have coffee. Well, unbeknownst to me, I'm wearing a yellow Brazil jersey, a yellow football Brazil jersey. It's not jersey material, but it's the bright yellow 10 with the green, and it's Brazil football colors. So everyone's kind of looking at me, but I don't really understand why. And I'll get back to that. So Karem and we sit, IT guy and I sit, and he is like, "Tell me what happened." So I go over the story, and he's like, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "I'm going back to London. I'm going to
Look at that. This guy is so complicit because he wants to know what you're going to do.
Mhm.
All he's doing right now is damage control. There's
Mhm.
nothing in him that says, "Wow, I'm so sorry I took you to a rapist's house."
Mm-mm. Yeah, I said to him, I asked him several times, like, "Why did you take me there? You delivered me to a place where I was in danger. That man tried to rape me repeatedly. I can feel the bruising. I mean, it's just like everywhere on my body. Now that I'm starting to kind of relax a little bit,
Yeah.
and I can just feel it all." And so I assure him that I'm not going to go to the police, that I'm going to go back to my apartment and book a flight. So he
Which
drops.
obviously the only thing he cares about.
And he didn't know that I know the mayor of the town. I know the mayor's daughter. I'm not going back to that. I'm not going back up to my apartment. So you can come back for me there. You know where I live. So I did not go home. I waited in the lobby for him to pull away, and I had made friends with there was 4 guys going to college on the balcony directly across from me, and we'd met in passing several times going back to and from the beach.
Wow.
So I buzzed on their door. And when they let me up, they opened the door, and when I went to get in, they stopped me. And they were like, what happened to you? That yellow Brazil shirt was covered in blood.
Great.
So that's why everyone at the beach was staring at us.
Yeah, and I love how IT guy didn't care about you in any shape or form, and he sees all that blood on your shirt, and the only thing he wants to know about is, well, 3 things. What did you do, Jennifer? Very shaming, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
where's the camera? And are you going to go to the police?
mhm, mhm.
How interesting. If he thinks that you did something bad and wrong, why is he so worried that you're going to go to the police?
Exactly. The
But
language,
the
like you're saying,
mind
like the
games,
language. Yeah.
these mind games come right out of a perpetrator's playbook. Oh, so okay,
So
you're
I
safe.
go to the police.
You went to the police.
Obviously. Yeah.
Good for
I
you.
called the mayor's daughter. She spoke great English. She was 14 years old, bless her heart. I had to tell her. I was like, "Hey, I've been in this situation. Send me your address. I'm jumping in a cab. I'm on my way to you right now."
Did
Yeah.
you know the address of the trafficking headquarters or the place where you were captive by the
I
traffic?
thought that I did because I almost got there because I went with the police to the IT shop.
Right.
It was at this point, it's like 9 o'clock at night. Everything is like the IT shop is shut down.
Yeah.
And we drove around for a little while because I swear I was so close to home. I mean, the IT shop was like a 7-minute walk away. So I'm close. I knew I was close. But getting back to learning things from Oprah and John Walsh, you never go to the second location. And that was what was in my mind the whole time of being in that apartment. Like, you can't leave this apartment unless you're leaving to escape. Like, if you stay here, they'll take you somewhere else. I had just watched Taken with Liam Neeson, literally like a week before I watched, before Here I Am in This House.
Wow. So so I guess the upshot is that the Turkish police never apprehended the trafficker.
Well, we went back to the house that morning when IT guy went to open the shop, the police were there waiting for him.
Wow.
He took them to the apartment.
Of course he did, because he doesn't want to go to jail.
Now he's
But
just like
but
playing
I'm
both
but I
sides.
am surprised that the Turkish police actually I mean I don't know, I was surprised that they believed you.
I
Because
have to say, the Turkish chief of police, he was like a Turkish Tommy Lee Jones. He had ostrich boots on. He had a belt with a giant buckle on it, little like he wasn't wearing pearl snaps, but he may as well have been in my mind wearing pearl snaps. He made all the eye contact with me. I really think he did believe me.
yeah, well, and
So
it probably didn't hurt that you knew the mayor.
yeah, I happen to know the mayor of the town because my boss, who I was going to work for in Singapore, had already introduced me to the mayor and his family
Yeah.
when I first arrived.
Jennifer, I want to just take a little pause here to make sure that any other sexual assault survivors that happen to be watching this know that there's no right or wrong way to respond to an assault, and this
Totally.
the whole idea about trusting your gut. Because for myself, I was raped by a serial rapist, and I am so glad I didn't fight him back, because there was a girl that he raped about 3 weeks after he raped me. And he stabbed her in the face and disfigured her
Mm,
face for life. So we all make our own decisions. For me to avoid that kind of violence, and once that violence would have been engaged in my case, I probably would have fought to the death, and it just wasn't. I didn't want to die,
yeah.
and I also didn't want to be disfigured. Did I know that that's what this serial rapist was about? No, but yes, I did. Some part of me knew
Mhm.
that he was mentally ill, and I was Jennifer, in a similar position. This guy had his rape. His whole apartment was set up for rape. So there were bars on the windows, bars on the door, and the door only locked with a key. So you could not like walk up to the door and turn the lock and get out. It locked automatically when you walked in, and the only way to get out, and eventually he did let me go, was he had to unlock the door so that I could be free.
Oh my God.
Um,
I just, I'm sorry I hate that that has happened to you or to any woman out there or man that's watching this. And you're so right. I mean, we all have to do the best that we can in the situation when we're in it.
And the other thing that I want to bring to the fore here is about 97% of rape survivors have experienced some degree of something that's called tonal immobility. And tonal immobility is part of the freeze response. So it's involuntary, it's in the amygdala. And this affects, like I said, about 97% of rape survivors. So it's really important to know the first time I was raped in college, I couldn't speak or move. So fighting back was not an option. With the
Mhm.
serial rapist, I employed another uh, response from the amygdala, which is called fawning. And fawning is also a survival mechanism where I praised him, I was nice to him. And I'm really glad that I was. But just know that however you handle a threat to your safety, that there's no right or wrong. There's no shame here. We don't need to be action heroes. And then sometimes that might be the right response. In this case, Jennifer, I really think the fact that you fought so hard saved you. Saved you. I really do. I think that it was the right thing for you to do in this situation. And then there might be another situation down the line where that would not be the course of action that you wanted to take. But I'm
I'm really
sure Glenn
surprised that I
got
fought like that. I don't know, but just like you had the divine guidance to know to fawn, I
yeah.
had it to fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes we freeze.
And
Um,
that's okay too.
and
That's okay.
sometimes we hopefully have an opportunity to flee, get the hell
Yes,
away.
yes, yes. And you're right. And to anyone listening to this and to anyone who's been in a situation, um, I think, like you said, most people would freeze. That is totally normal. That freeze response is there to save you. And that's part of the disassociation too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. And what's remarkable about your story for me is that here you are, a survivor of child sexual assault. It's pretty common for somebody who has been assaulted as a child to have kind of a groove of acquiescing and giving up and not fighting back. So it's just amazing to me. I think it was your guides that helped you know in this situation you
Mhm.
better fight,
Yeah.
because otherwise your passport, everything's going to be lost. You will be lost. Nobody's ever going to hear from you again.
And I'm an only child. Like I kept thinking of my mom.
Yeah.
Like I don't want my mom to have that story, for herself too. So
Well, I hope you're right about this at some point, because you remember a remarkable amount of detail, and it's an edge of the seat story. Jennifer, I also know that you're somebody who loves sex, and
mm,
that's not a very common outcome for somebody who's been assaulted. Um, and I also really love sex. Not like in a um, addictive fashion, like I have to have it, but I celebrate it. It's part of my spiritual path.
mhm,
And I know
mhm.
you have a rich spiritual life too. So I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about how you don't stay in a place of trauma and fear, or go into a place of being shut down or bitter. All those things are really important. We need to address the trauma. We need to address the fear. We need to get angry and have our rage. Um, But I'm just wondering, how do you think you have been able to heal yourself to a place where sex is an attractive and pleasurable part of your life?
I practice something called applied neurology, and that is training my nervous system on a moment by moment basis so that as threat comes in and is received, your brain is always taking in information from your eyes, your hands, your proprioceptive system, your vestibular system, and then it triangulates and produces an output.
Mhm.
Those outputs for me before, like I was saying, were anxiety, depression, binge eating. Binging is a survival output. That's not, it's actually saving you, right? So when I practice applied neurology, the one thing that I do every day and I have done in my healing is upregulate my vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is your 10th cranial nerve and it runs from your brain into your body. It is the brain body connection. Your vagus nerve, it regulates your heartbeat, your blood pressure, it goes into your gut. It tells your brain all the signals that your organs are putting off, and then it relays that information back up.
Right.
It really is beneficial to your immune system. I mean, upregulating your vagus nerve is everything. But that is what brought me back into my body
Ah,
because I was so detached in so many ways. I just couldn't, I didn't know who, I just couldn't be in my body. And so by practicing the applied neurology, and I started coming back. I work on my vestibular system. That's your inner ear canal. That's your body's balance system. If you think of like a level, it orients you to the horizon line. So by working on all these systems and even sensory, like I touch myself a lot, I'll get a cloth and just make sure that my brain knows where my body map is.
yeah.
So I'm just always now touching myself, like even my feet, like, okay, shut your eyes and see, can you feel your toes? Can you do all this? And start mapping your body to put yourself back into it.
Great.
And
This
by doing that, it changes the input that my brain receives so that my outputs are different. So then my anxiety started to lower,
mm,
my depression started to get better, the racing thought, like the hypervigilance started to lessen. I started to do a lot of work around rewiring the belief that I wasn't safe. I wasn't safe to be visible. There would have
right.
been a time I would have never sat here with you or anybody. It wouldn't be safe.
Yeah.
And then it was like the binging went on for so long. It got even worse after Turkey because if someone would have taken me then, why would I want to exercise? Why would I want to look better? Why would I want to be pretty in the world? It's dangerous. So I had to slowly start identifying those beliefs and rewiring them to say, you're safe, you're worthy, there's more safety and visibility, because if you hide and then you disappear, something happens to you, no one might know. But the more you put yourself out there, the more you talk, the more you are in the world, it'll be safer. So I just started coming back into my body, and then I started masturbating regularly.
Yay!
I love masturbation is a spiritual journey.
It really is. I mean, if you're not approaching it with an addictive, grasping energy, if you are approaching it from a place of expansive energy,
Mhm.
it is that is part of my spiritual path, and it's one of the things I use to heal my emotions and my feelings too.
Yeah.
Share a little bit more about that. I'm often talking about self-pleasuring rituals. I'd love to hear how it looks for you.
I started like learning from someone, a lady who was talking about how we can drop these beliefs and feelings and things into the womb space. And then in the womb space is the place where from nothing comes everything. It's the creation center. And so I would start to masturbate on things that I really wanted in my life.
Oh my God, you are
You know what I mean?
you're
And
like my
turn my
masturbation sister.
yeah, masturbation creation is what I call it.
What do you call it?
Masturbation creation.
Masturbation creation. I love that. That is what I do too.
You do?
I
And do
do.
you have anything else that goes along with that? Like a
What I usually do is I start off with curiosity. I just like uh, kind of want to ground myself by holding my vulva with my hand and just breathing into that space and find out what's going on,
Mhm.
and ask, "What do you want me to know?" I'm kind of like talking to
Mhm.
my vulva. And
Yeah.
then sometimes there's sadness, sometimes there's anger, sometimes there's desire. Sometimes there's like, I want to dream, I want to imagine and create visually,
Yeah.
So I try to go with what is present and not, force myself to go in a particular direction. Sometimes I might want to do a creative visualization because I think orgasm is like such a potent way to open the brain to be suggestible and to really embrace the things that we want to attract. But sometimes she tells me, that she's angry or sad, and so we have to go in the direction she wants to go.
I'm
I
gonna get better about asking that. I don't do that.
Oh, there have been times that I have grieved the death of a loved one through masturbation. And here's what I found about it: if I let those emotions come up while I'm pleasuring myself, um, they get more resolution, more healing. It's like I go one step further. Like sometimes I have trouble accessing my grief. I may kind of cry at the surface.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if I am crying right at the moment of orgasm, that it goes deeper and has a more substantial impact on my emotional terrain so that I can let go more easily.
Mhm. Mhm.
It gets more fully processed.
Grief is something as culture we struggle with. Like I have a grief practice in the morning. I say my prayers and then I used to set a timer for 30 seconds, but I don't let it carry on to the point of like taking my day, but I allow myself to think about, okay, did something upset you yesterday? Did you wake up feeling anything? I mean, there's plenty of things to grieve about in what's happening in the world today if you don't have anything to reflect on personally, but I've taken on a grief practice because of that very thing. Like I just want to grieve better,
That's really
deeper.
that's a very sacred commitment. I
But I'm going to try your
yeah, I may try that.
method.
a,
Honestly.
a
Yeah.
grief practice. One of the things that's been weighing heavy on my mind today is India's COVID deaths.
Oh my
Um, and,
gosh.
you and I met on LinkedIn, and I have a lot of LinkedIn connections that I don't know them very well, but they happen to reside in India. And I just spoke, via LinkedIn with a young man from India this morning. And I said, "How are you doing?" And he said, "Please pray for India."
It's so it's devastating to see what's happening in India, and they are beautiful people. They are such kind, beautiful people. I feel for them. My heart goes to them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, and of course, there's plenty of ways to become an activist around things, but we can't be activists about everything going on planet Earth. But um,
no.
it's important, I think, to also find some place to take your grief and your rage where you're actually doing something and getting involved.
There's such hard emotions to sit with too. I've found that the more I explore my own even repressed emotions, anger is pretty prevalent. Like it's something that I really try to move through me. I haven't always noticed those feelings, but they're in there.
Oh, yeah. So, and to me, like putting food down in here is a way of trying to keep the anger suppressed, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and
yeah.
and I tend towards the not eating thing, which is often my way of trying to disassociate so that I'm not
Mhm.
connected to the trauma. Um,
Right. Yes. Yeah,
one
we
of
all
the
have
things, but
ways.
I love about the fact you and I both have daily practices for our healing. And I love also that we are conscious of the things that we still want to heal, the movement that we've created in our life. And I think that's one of the key messages that survivors like you and I can bring to people, which is you actually can be vibrant, healthy, happy, and fully realized, even as you're processing your trauma.
Mhm.
And it's not like it's over because there's always going to be something. I think about how fortunate I am, how blessed I am. And I do live in a place of gratitude. But I also know that life is unpredictable. And there will always be something to grieve, even if it's my mother's death or my dog's passing. Um, you know, life on life's terms, it's always going to dish out something that's challenging for us. And so I think we need to be equipped um, to navigate grief and anger in ways that allow us to continue to live a full and rewarding life.
Absolutely. And times are changing. I mean, things are changing very rapidly around here. And it's very unpredictable. I mean, not only is life unpredictable, but 2021, 2020 has changed the game,
It has.
leveling us all up right now.
It has. It has. It has.
But there are ways to heal and other ways to be. And I think you do the work, I do the work. It's not easy, like we were saying in the beginning, but it's possible.
It is. You know, as a relationship coach, I just encounter so many people that have so much trauma, and they're a lot of times trying to avoid those memories, avoid talking about it or thinking about it, and so then it tamps down their capacity for joy.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's I just really think I love that you and I were able to have this conversation today because it really opens up the idea that you can be more alive and more present and have access to more of your emotions that you really enjoy if you don't shy away from the emotions that are difficult.
Totally, totally. It's a portal. I mean, and when you think about what's the worst that could happen, you've probably already been through it.
Well, you and I have certainly seen our share of it.
So it's going to be okay. It's going to be hard, but you can handle
Know
it.
something though, when I'm doing my gratitude, I'm always really aware. When I'm doing my gratitude list, I'm always aware of how much worse it could get, because there's somebody else on this planet that is suffering more than I am.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what I have suffered, there is always somebody on this planet who's suffered more. And
Mhm.
it's not like I want to celebrate the fact that I've suffered less than them, but I want to retain some humility. And remember to count my blessings.
Mhm.
Don't get too attached to them because they can change, they can go away,
Mhm.
and it's okay because I'm on a spiritual journey, and I want to face that with curiosity.
Yes, curiosity. Being curious about anything, everything. And I try and get curious about my emotions or why is that feeling coming up? Like, let me explore that a little bit deeper. Whatever's coming up? I'm always asking myself, trying to explore those curiosities.
Yes. Well, um, this you are an inspiration.
You are too, sister.
I'm so glad we met.
Me
And
too. I really
I
am
think
too.
we'll probably have these conversations again. I mean, I'm like, my mind is buzzing with screenplay. Um,
Who's gonna play me?
yeah, it was a pretty exciting story, I gotta say.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
And
and
and I went back to that apartment with the cops. Like I walked through it. And with a different lens to know the danger that I was really in. There were rooms in that apartment with doors shut that had bunk beds in them.
oh my gosh,
I saw what that apartment was for
were
what
the
what
perpetrators
it was.
still there?
They were gone.
Oh, of course they were.
Beady eyes in Russia got out.
What about the red camera? Was that gone too?
It was gone.
Oh,
They must have eventually found that fucking camera.
oh my
Which
God.
I mean, when I think about what was on that camera, I wish I would have been able to,
Yeah.
I wish that would have gone differently.
Obviously, they were taking pictures of you. They would have taken more explicit pictures somewhere down the line, but
Mhm.
I would say that they were looking for how to market you,
Definitely.
how to break you in and market you.
It's so bad. We've got, that's another thing in this country and in the world, we've got to figure out how we are going to protect women and children.
Well,
Like for
I
real.
I have one first step I'd really like people to take, and that is to decriminalize sex work so that sex workers and their clients can actually start reporting instances of sex
Mhm.
trafficking. But when
Amen.
we conflate adult consensual behavior with sex trafficking, we totally miss these horrific, horrible abuses like the one that you got caught in.
Mhm, mhm. I couldn't agree with you more. And give them health insurance immediately.
Yeah. Yes. All the benefits.
Yes, the top, VIP.
And sex workers are happy to pay taxes. When I was a sex worker, I paid my taxes.
Did
So,
you? That's
oh, hell
amazing.
yes. My girlfriend taught me the business of high end escorting, and the first thing she did was march me down to get my quarterly tax information, my federal ID number. So when I was audited about 14 years later, they were like, "Oh, we got her now," and I had all of my files for the last 14 years, and whatever they asked for, I was just, "Oh, you want this? Oh, you want this? Oh, you want this?" And it
Oh
was like
my
the shortest audit in history, and there was nothing to see.
God. That's amazing. I'm so impressed by that.
Yes, well, you might be able to break some misdemeanors. Don't you ever cheat the tax man. That was a very valuable piece of wisdom she passed on to me.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm proud of you for even maintaining that. That's it, like I said, it's very impressive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really I want to see a world where sex workers are considered honorable, law-abiding citizens. So if that was my orientation as an activist, and I wanted to have, hold to my high ideals.
Mhm. I couldn't, I totally agree with you. It needs to be legalized or decriminalized. I don't know the right, if I said the right
We
word, but
want decriminalization because legalization just turns Uncle Sam into a pimp.
yeah, as I said that, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, and now they're gonna make money.
No, no, no. We want women and trans people, and obviously the men who work in the sex industry too. But there's a lot of women and trans people who work in the sex industry. We want them empowered to
Absolutely.
to be entrepreneurs and to um, be safe. Be safe. A serial rapist that I encountered, it was very disheartening because I tried to report that rape, and Oakland PD didn't want to take my deposition because they just wanted to arrest me for being a prostitute. So that man is still at large, doing God knows what at this point. I mean, if he stabbed a girl in the face 20 years ago, I don't know if he's still alive, what he's doing. Maybe he went to prison, but certainly he never got arrested for raping all the prostitutes that he was raping, nor did he get arrested for assaulting that young girl.
Mm.
And
It's not acceptable.
well, fortunately, Senator Scott Wiener introduced a law that was passed into a reality by Gavin Newsom last year. No, I think it was 2 years ago, which makes it, get this, possible for sex workers to report their own rapes and assaults without being arrested.
Wow. Well, thank you.
It took a lot of years to get that legislation in the works. And Maxine Dugan from Erotic Service Providers Union she was instrumental in making that happen. So,
Oh,
but
I'm
we
glad to.
did take my rape case as far as we possibly could. Finally got the Oakland mayor to let me do a deposition, but that took 4 whole years. So So yeah, we all fight however we can for the justice and the safety and the healing.
I wish that chemical castration was a thing.
Well, it
Like
doesn't
like
actually
a thing
work.
in me, it doesn't work?
It doesn't work, no.
Um,
So for me, I'm looking for ways to heal perpetrations. Um, Certainly, there are some bad people like Beady Eyes that you met. The serial rapist that I met, he's insane, mentally ill person.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and so those people just need to be, taken out of society.
Yeah.
But there's some people who have crossed the line who, what does that mean? I think about the guy who raped me in college. I wouldn't want to see him chemically castrated, nor would I actually want to see him put in prison. I would like to see social justice for a rape like that.
Mhm,
I don't even think he was fully conscious that that's what that was. I mean, this is back in 1978, and we had different value systems back then. I'd like him to be held accountable, but I'd be much more interested in him going through an amends process. Chemical castration is something that they resort to sometimes for hardened pedophiles and rapists. And unfortunately, what that does a lot of times is just angers the perpetrator. And so then when they finally get out of prison, they just use foreign objects. So,
mm, I
so
see.
that
I see.
we just need to remember rape is always about power, not about sex.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
just a sexual way of having power. Obviously, had you been successfully trafficked, the people who came to see you, if they didn't know you were a trafficking victim, would probably have been there for sexual gratification.
Mhm,
But that man that was trying to rape you was definitely about commodifying you and controlling you.
mhm,
And he was using all the tricks in the book, wasn't he?
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Shame,
and
intimidation.
he was quite good at it, really. I think I just, it's the one time in my life where someone could be like, "I was too much. I was probably just too much."
You
And
were
I'll
too
take
much.
that.
I'm so excited that you were too much, Jennifer.
And, and I don't know if you think about this, but about, like, your soul family and, if you believe in contracts when you come here,
I
however
do
this
actually.
works. And so, just maybe last year, sometime, maybe the beginning of quarantine, I had a shift in perspective that Beady Eyes was part of my soul family and
Mhm.
that he sacrificed his karma for me to live my purpose.
Hmm.
And then I started to thank him.
Wow. I have to say, you've gone one step further than I want to, but I hope you
I
don't
just
mind. I hope you don't mind if I have some animosity towards beady eyes.
No, no, go for it. Go for it.
But I understand the spiritual principle that you're talking about, and I think the way that I hold that is I don't really thank my perpetrators, um, but I do forgive them because resentment's not good for me. Um,
No,
and
no.
and I can find sometimes on the other side of that forgiveness some compassion, and see like the serial rapist was obviously mentally ill. My father, who perpetrated against me, was also mentally ill and a survivor from a very violently incestuous family. So there's ways in which I have compassion, and I can forgive. But
I feel that. I feel that too. Even with my childhood perpetrator, I think that's probably where a lot of my anger comes from that I have built up just from living my whole life. I mean, I'm 43 now, for almost 44. So for something to happen from 3 to 5 and then to live these dangerous narratives
oh,
for
uh, let's call that out. As childhood sexual assault survivors, definitely set up to wind up in situations where we're going to get sexually assaulted as adult women.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, yeah, there's statistics that say that's a thing.
Yeah.
And I used to think that I was kind of walking around with incest survivor tattooed across my forehead, which just made me vulnerable.
Mhm.
The irony of that, is my father was always, I'm going to protect you from these men that might want to rape you. I was like, no, actually, it kind of set me up. Um,
Totally.
yeah. I could talk to you for another hour and a half.
Honestly, me too.
This was great. We'll do it again.
It was
Jennifer,
great.
I'm going to post all your links at the bottom of the YouTube, but just for anybody who's watching right now, how can they find out more about you and also that amazing neurological reset that you do for your own trauma?
You can find me. This is very easy. The podcast, my email, the website is all illuminated with Jennifer Wallace, either .com or at Gmail. You can find me on Facebook. I would love for anyone out there listening that wants to connect with me, please do. I work very closely with Brain-Based Wellness. Elizabeth Kristoff is the founder of that of the applied neurology and the full kind of spectrum of work that I do. We work very closely together, and but I work separately from her too. So check both of those. Just come find us.
Definitely.
Yeah, come find us. We would love to work with you.
I loved my time with you today, Jennifer.
Me too. And your podcast with me is going to air at the end of this month.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll post the link for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I look forward to having more time with you.
I do too.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much. Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank
soul
you all.
sister. Bye for now.
Bye.